Tell me about your week, Chris.
All right. I will. Let's see. What's this week like? So we recently acquired a marketing agency, and it's been a lot of things. It's been mostly good. There's been a lot of mostly good. There's been a lot of learned lessons. I think the biggest one is the way marketing agencies, I guess this one shouldn't speak for all of them, but it's renewed my distaste for them. The way that marketing agencies prescribe and package solutions, I have and always will disagree with. And so having to recalibrate expectations based off of that has been tricky, but it's also been nice in a way. I guess that's where a lot of my energy's been spent this week, is talking to customers that have been working with a marketing agency for a while and understanding what worked and what didn't, and then feeling a lot of validation that despite there not being this is how you consult clients to grow, even though we didn't have that book, we've made our own pretty good book. And so I think we're going to be able to help some of these companies out.
That's awesome.
That feels good, honestly, but it's been a lot.
Yeah.
I've had to lean into my working genius this week.
I think you're going to have to tell people what working genius is. That's not everybody knows.
Good call.
But before we get into that, I mean, you've got an opinion on marketing agencies, obviously. You just kind of elaborate on some of it. I've got an opinion on them too.
It's hard not to when
It's hard not to. Everybody's got an opinion on marketing. It's nothing new. But I think, for me, the opinion for me is on the way they operate. And I think that was kind of some of what you said there too, is there can be a ton of unethical decisions being made, and really situations that only benefit the agency versus the actual customer, preventing them from actually growing. And I think
website maintenance.
Yeah,
as a business charge.
We're in the day and age where your hosting provider, whether that be HubSpot, WP Engine, whatever, it's covering all that stuff already. So what are you paying for? And I think that was kind of clear on a call that we just had, where they're like, well, what do you mean the site's garbage?
Bad.
For lack of a better term, bad. And you're trying to tell them why it is, but they don't understand. So, I mean, the general audience, general world doesn't really understand, what is a good site or a bad site from any point of view of technical or not. But what are they paying for? The end of the day. And I've seen retainers of $200 to $5,000 a month, but nothing is happening on the site.
Yeah. There's it's been 20 years of me being in this marketing consulting owner space. So it's not like I haven't pivoted and evolved over time, indirectly for a few years, especially when I joined the HubSpot universe, this whole idea of don't charge for time, charge but based on points, make your own unit of measure. Okay, so I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm so thankful we don't do that anymore. And now I actually feel very...
What's a point worth?
Right. It would be like, it's $250 a point. It's not time, but on the back end, we're still like, okay, that's like 2.5 hours, right?
Yeah, and trying to explain that way. Explain that to a client.
It's so dumb. That's my only qualm with Nick Cole, if you're listening. The only direction that you led me in that I would disagree with in hindsight is points. But now that you know. With that said, I feel really good. I feel really good charging for time now because, well, one, I understand how that really works on a deep level. And two, that's what you're paying for, is our time and our brain. And sure, our hourly rate, depending on how much of our time you buy, may be much higher than you're used to paying. But we do things like let you know ahead of time that we're going to use AI, and that's going to allow us to do more at the same level or better in less time. And you don't have to pay us more to do that because you're paying for our time. So we're joyfully getting the most out of our time for you. And if that is a problem, you might need to go to therapy because it sounds like you've got trust issues. But it seems like a very fair transaction.
Well, and I remember like my early days in marketing, I was working for an agency that billed by value. How much value does this bring the client? But he sold it in time blocks. So blocks of like 5 hours, and they were worth $750 or more. But his gotcha on the back end was, well, that task might have only actually taken an hour, but we've used all 5 hours because the value it brings was worth 5 hours. And
I think that's weird.
I think
just like things to be, maybe it's because I'm getting old, but I just like things to be logical, fair, trackable, and then like have some results out of it. That's it. I don't need to overcomplicate this. If you have a problem with the rate dollar amount, buy a cheaper thing. Go on Upwork and find the hourly rate you're comfortable with. So that way we don't need to talk about why I'm worth this.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't come off too petty. It's just like, it's okay that you would like the knockoff purse instead of whatever a fancy one is. I don't know. I'm not a big purse wearer these days, but
I'll drop one in for my wife.
I should digress. It's the end of the week. It's Friday. Probably the best and worst time to have these fireside chats, honestly.
Where I agree heavily on the way that you're doing it is the transparency. So a client's going to know, okay, I'm getting 30 hours from you, and I know exactly how much work you're going to produce. Whereas on the other models, it's like the conversations we've been on this week. What am I actually getting for the money that I've been spending? And sadly, in some cases, it's you've been spending a lot of money for the last 2-3 years on nothing. And I think that's like, you've been handling those conversations like a champ.
It's a lot easier taking negative feedback when it literally has nothing to do with anything that I've provided, but it still is a gut punch, and it has affected, honestly, my week's been tough. Like, it has affected my sleep patterns because I feel bad because I have a lot of respect for the person whose company I acquired. He is a great human. I think he put trust into people that I wouldn't to be as nice as possible. I mean, I just can't believe it. It breaks my heart, even though this is business. It's just business. But it still breaks my heart. These people got people to feed, things to do, goals to accomplish, vacations to have or not have. And it's not okay to slide in with an invoice that's cheaper than your competitors and then essentially do nothing. That's just me.
Digress. That's a word I've been hearing you say. I digress.
I have to do a lot of it this week. I do feel a renewed sense of purpose around why I felt marketing agency doesn't check the boxes for our customers anymore. Because it's very like, we did a thing, good luck. And that's not how I operate. Like we saw in the call we just had, this company is going through a massive evolution. And so one of their operators was like, we need to do a team deep dive and talk about where we want to go before we get started with growth. What did I say? Great. I'm a perfect person to volunteer to lead that because I'm an outside party. And knowing everyone's goals and ambitions and how the work we do impacts them personally is why I do this in the first place. So what a weird thing for me to, that's probably going to take a couple hours to drive there and back. Definitely whatever restaurant/bar tab there is, because I'm definitely going to want to hang out with these guys and humans. And no guarantee they're going to do a contract with me, but I could just feel they needed a moderator to make sure that happens. And I will always step up to the plate for that sort of stuff. And yes, there's a good chance that they'll potentially turn into a customer. I think there's a lot of green flags, but helping is a big part of why I do what I do.
I lost you for a second there.
No, it was so good.
It's okay. I didn't say anything. So
Riverside got it.
Yeah, Riverside got it because it's on your end, so we're good. And then I'll cut that part out. Shout out to some of these new tools we're using. Riverside FM, you're the bomb. So far, you've made my life a lot easier in terms of repurposing content. Yeah, I think
also,
like
shout
agencies.
out to Verizon Business Internet, $69 a month. It is. I've had internet issues in this office for years. Last Thursday, Wednesday, I'm like, I'm gonna try this out. Plugged it in, perfect video quality ever since. And I wish I would have done this 2 years ago. I can't believe it's that easy. Verizon Business, also not a sponsor yet.
Verizon
That would be like a very clever sponsor, though.
Yeah, I mean, look at who we're talking about and who we're talking to.
Something to think about, Verizon. Influencer program manager.
So, on that monitor. Oh, my goodness. On the mantra, I mean, we could sit here and we can rag on agencies all day, and agencies rag on each other all the time. You know, I think it's important to recognize, because you've done a shift here for growth in the last 30 to 60 days where you've completely overhauled and rebranded. And I think it's, like, in my opinion, it's good because you're getting away from that stigma of being a marketing agency. I mean, it's really come up a lot in the calls this week that you and I tag teamed on, where there are people like, hey, I'm not happy with marketing, period. Well, you know, we're not having those conversations. We're having completely different. So I don't know. You want to weigh in on that?
I do. I mean, the work that is done by a company that is doing marketing or doing revenue operations or HubSpot implementation or account-based marketing or website design and development, I think in 2024, it's like, for us, we want to focus in on the goal. It's revenue, right? Revenue runs the business. So we need to have that conversation of where are we today and where do we want to go? Because based on that answer, we can start to determine what strategies and resources and tools we want and can use. If your goal is, if you're a $1.4 million company and you want to grow to 2 million, these solutions and opportunities are going to be different than, let's say, you're a international manufacturer of PPE stuff, and you're in the billions of dollars. Your transformation could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is the whole amount that the other company is trying to grow. We need to get you Verizon Business Internet in Canada.
I'm trying to think, do we even have Verizon up here?
Okay, Verizon, we've got a huge opportunity for you. Sponsor this,
I think we do.
Air quote show, and we are going to launch Verizon Business Internet in Calgary.
And rural surrounding areas, because that's where I live.
Exactly. Yeah. Shit, that's what. And the address is.
Well, they can go to Calgary all they want. I don't know.
Is that where you are now?
I'm outside of Calgary.
Oh, cool.
A little bit of a drive, but it is, and it's by choice. The family was tired of the city and we wanted to slow things down. So we moved out to the countryside.
Hey man, I'm outside of San Francisco and Monterey. It is lovely. But you go back to the city when you need a good meal and some traffic.
Definitely. That was the wife's hardest thing about moving out here, was you can't get like DoorDash at 11 o'clock at night from a good restaurant. You'd be lucky if you can get it from McDonald's at 11 o'clock at night. But
that's one
she's
note.
Adjusted.
So like, you're coming out to Monterey here in a couple of weeks and you're not going to be able to eat after 8. So maybe like honestly 9, but seriously 9's so like go home.
Stock up.
Yeah. We'll have charcuterie and wine ready.
You shouldn't eat past 8 anyways. It's not good for your sleep pattern.
In your late 30s, but like I don't know. If I was I enjoyed my time in Orlando in my 20s and early 30s. Lot of late nights.
Yeah.
Or early mornings, depending on how you looked at my schedule.
You're lucky you remember those days.
I had a cheat code though. This is serious, I owned a media company that was the curated guide for the best things to do in Orlando, Tampa, and Miami. So that included House of Blues concerts. If it was a new restaurant, bar, nightclub, I was there.
That's awesome.
It was fun. So my memories were also logged and on the internet for all to see for many, many years. Shout out What's Too Hot.
That scares me.
Thanks for that.
That scares me. There we go.
Yeah.
So where do we want to go next with this conversation? Marketing agencies.
I think the whole concept of growth operations, it's still like in its infancy stage. And I still feel very passionate about it. And I know I don't have the resources to just own the phrase growth operations today. But it's just so, for me, I think we'll look back a year, 2, 3, and 4 from like this phase. Be like, can you believe how many people are just saying growth operations? Because with the way the technology has changed and tools like HubSpot have created ecosystems that work together to create one cohesive unit, there's still a lack of word for what that is. And for me, that is growth operations. That is the operations of owning all things flywheel. Honestly, it's knowing how marketing affects sales and how sales affects service and how they all affect each other. And then, it just so happens that in the middle of HubSpot's flywheel is the word growth. So why they're not calling it growth operations yet, I don't know. But when they added that word to their flywheel 6 months after I joined the HubSpot partner, I felt good. I was like, yeah, you know what's in the middle of that? Me. But I think I'm looking forward to hopefully having more support just from businesses and people saying like, yeah, you know what? There is a real change when you're not just talking to a sales department and like, hey, we need $2 million more in 2025, or we need new, just like what I would say are just like very task, even like basic components that make up this broader conversation of growing your company, No-ish.
I'm just trying to dig into everything you just dropped.
Was that good or bad?
No, it's good. It's good. My problem is I do need Verizon Business Wireless, apparently, because it keeps pausing on my end.
Well, you got to talk to them. Well, let them know. Hashtag Verizon.
You know what? I'm going to try some. All right.
Well, that's better.
That's way better. There we go.
Just the location?
I was using my virtual camera because obviously, it's in my background.
I think you can't see it from what I'm seeing, guys. Can anyone watching this see dancing pole? Comment dance pole if you see dance pole in this video.
Don't you start with me.
Oops.
Now we have to
what's this meeting that just popped up on my calendar? I was like, oh, sorry.
Yeah, good move on that one there. Throwing a meeting on my calendar, no context whatsoever. It was really good.
What's your overview of Story Brand? Also not an official sponsor yet. We're going to need a bullet list of everybody that I've casually mentioned and I'm not getting paid by.
As you kind of said to me, like I have the technical side down. What I do see is,
I would say never have seen anyone at your level. And I mean that with 100% authenticity. Ops wise, building it all wise, second to none.
Thank you.
Well, what's the other half of the equation?
The other half is storytelling. And I brought it up on the call that we were on, actually, where your job, essentially, as a marketer, is to tell a story, making the customer the hero of that story, the hero's journey. And then you, as the marketer or the business, need to be the guide for that character and guide them through. I'm very familiar with overall like the hero's journey and writing copy for the different life cycle stages to guide somebody to the endpoint that we want them to be, which is a customer. I'm very familiar with that. But I think in the last few years, I've dug deeper into the technical side because it's a lot of fun. And I've forgotten the side that I used to love a lot, and that was the branding and the storytelling and making that difference for somebody where they have that emotional connection, that transformation. Because at the end of the day, we're not necessarily selling widgets. We're selling a transformation. We're taking you from point A to point B, this undesirable result to the desired result. And, when you're in tech as much as I am, you forget that. So it was kind of like a wake-up call on that call.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the impromptu meeting I put on your calendar with StoryBrand. I'm glad. I'm glad the takeaways I hope you would have happened. I feel victorious. No, and it's important because what you can do is take this and turn it into a million things, and it blows my mind because any content creator would still have to go through this portion, but then it's what happens next, and you've got the creation and the distribution down. And I see this a lot in the HubSpot space. A lot of technical specialists, great companies, they can integrate the hell out of something. But ask them to grow your business and you're going to get a workflow. But that's what goes in the workflow. What's the punch? And I am thankful for my non-traditional background and having such great marketers in my circle at a young age and throughout my early career being a marketing agency owner, whom I know I don't talk highly about, but they're okay, but they need to evolve just like I did. And I'm so thankful. Danielle Hine. Oh man, what's this other guy's name? Mike. Oh man. I can't remember his last name. Greenhouse? No, that was the company he worked for. But Danielle was with Red Bull and she's still a friend. And she just had, when I first started Growth, actually, and I drove cross country from our Orlando office to what became California office, I stopped in New Orleans to see her after a few years. And she's like, what's your story and why? And I'm like, totally like, dude, I'm just going to get the job done. Like, I'm the guy. And that wasn't enough. And then I can remember that conversation in her living room in New Orleans as Growth has grown and we've added team members and we've moved away from like the redwood imagery and brought it back to the community. So like, what I was trying to say is I'm very thankful that I had a lot of really smart people my age doing stuff, shaking things up and reminding me that execution is a very important component, but so is the promotion and the sizzle and the story.
Yeah. I mean, like my background, that's where I started was brand development. And
it's a fun thing to do when you're young.
Oh, it's a great thing to do. I used to have so much fun. Like I remember walking around town when I was living in college, I was living in Red Deer, Alberta. And I remember walking around town and going, that brand could be better. Like the logo, it all could be better. It just something isn't resonating with me. So I'd go home and I'd sit there and I'd redo the logo. And then I'd come up with a brand story behind it. This is who you are. This is the culture you have. These are the people you serve. This is the legacy you're creating. I just did it for fun. And then one day, a friend of mine came by and he saw, because I had a wall, the whole wall was covered in these logos. And he came by, I think he was coming by, we were just having a couple of drinks. And he goes, that's my dad's company. Why do you got a logo up on the wall? I said, this is what I do. I just walk around town. I get inspired. I want to, help these companies grow. And he's like, well, what are you doing with it? Said, it's just for fun. He's like, can I borrow it? So he takes it. And the next day he phones me up because this is the date before like modern texting, like still T9 text messaging.
Oh, so old school. This like 2003 or you're in Canada, so like 2015?
It's 2003. You remember the advent of the smartphone was created by a Canadian company, letting you know.
Yeah, there's a movie nobody saw about it. I remember.
I know every Canadian movie.
Yeah. Hey, you guys have the man Ryan Reynolds right now. You guys are looking good on the screen. Continue.
Yeah, sexiest man alive. Like, come on.
Second.
So yeah, I got sexiest. Second. So yeah, he calls me up the next day and he says, my dad wants you to come in and talk about this design you made and everything. So I'm like, okay. So I go in, and before I even had a chance to sit down and talk, I was handed a check. And they're like, we want to buy this brand. We want you to implement it. And it was a lot of fun. And then somewhere along the way, I got into taking that from print and turning it into digital for web and stuff like that. And then got sucked into the HubSpot ecosystem, and I've never really gotten my foot out the door of it. I keep coming back.
That boyish wonder that you describe of brand building, I think that is actually a really good segue, because I can definitely appreciate that aspect. And then there's the full-blown reality that a brand doesn't, and I'm going to probably say this wrong, but what I'm kind of saying wrong is nobody cares. You still have to do the work, build the website, do the sales, grow your company, and brand is cool, obviously. But, that's as I got older and bitter, I guess, I got into marketing operations. So then that still doesn't cover it. So then I got into sales operations. So that still doesn't cover it, because then you have clients now, but then your clients churn. So then you got to get into service operations. And that bitterness turned into growth operations. Just the understanding that the fun stuff is important, but let the kids do it. The adults need to focus on growing the business. And it's weird because there's certain stages where having a brand would allow the growth to happen easier. It does reduce friction, but there's so many people offering branding services. And I think HubSpot did a good job of showing this. There's so many people spending so much time branding that they forget about execution. Yeah. And HubSpot, I think, did such a great job taking a basic logo, a basic website, basic sales collateral. And I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I bet you it was. Why would we waste hundreds of thousands of dollars on branding when we have to get the reps in by our reps? We have to focus on selling. We need to focus on processes, and we need to focus on our software. And so many, whether we went from 19,000 SaaS companies in 2019 or 2022, and now there's 15,000. I don't know. The number went up 40 or 50% in just a few years. Yeah. If I was a branding agency right now, I'd be so thrilled. But all those companies suck. So you're just taking these people's money and they're going to flop anyway. I digress. Well, yeah. That's today's theme. Digress.
I look at it as artists, right? His branding it's an art form. There's a lot of discovery and pulling stuff out. I'm not going to knock a branding person at all, at least a good one. But it's something similar. My wife used to run an organization that helped artists monetize themselves. And her biggest thing that she had with them, or biggest struggle, is these guys or these people don't know how to execute. They're great at what they do. They can make compelling, beautiful pieces of art, but they don't know how to execute. And I think that just piggybacks off what you were saying is, if you don't have the execution, you don't have the reps in, who gives a fuck about the brand? The brand is non-existent.
Yeah, and start, no offense to branding agencies either, but use ChatGPT, use the logo creator, use Canvas. Start with something there and focus on the service that you're providing, the work. And then you can go back and appreciate where you came from and create a cuter logo or whatever. I don't know. That's just me.
Well, it's just like the session that you and I had the other day where we just pop something in the GPT, give us a concept, and then I've been able to take that away and grow it. I think that's a great segue into how we can modernize the approach. I think we still need some level of human in everything. I don't think we can.
Yes. Intentional human touch points.
Yeah.
Absolutely necessary.
Yeah,
absolutely necessary.
For those that are starting marketing agencies in the GPT world, you kind of suck because you're just taking what's created in GPT and spitting it out. Now, here's the problem with artificial intelligence is it needs to learn from something. And if we continue to produce shit, what's it going to learn? I've seen GPT, the digression of GPT in the last 6 months. 6 months ago, I could get it to do whatever I want and create something really awesome. The style guide thing that I did the other day, that was pretty cool. But I could get it to do something awesome. But now I'm finding I'm having to iterate more because the large data set that it is now taking in 2 years of shit that people have put out because it has no context or value to society. And
that's interesting.
It sucks. Yeah. I still use it. I now have to, like, this was a tool that was supposed to make my life easier. And now I've got to work harder to get it to give me what I want because we've started producing
whatever
shit.
OpenAI's name is, Sam Altman, he has been on record basically saying that ChatGPT 5 is going to make everything else look dumb. Which is crazy to think about because even with what you're describing, it's still hard for me to like even picture a world where I didn't have my ChatGPT assistant that I could bounce ideas off of, or I'm firing off an email. I'm like, copy, paste, boop, tell me how to say that. Not like a jerk. Thanks. That'd be great.
That's the same use that my wife uses it for because she can be pretty brash. So she puts in, she's like, make me sound like a human. And it comes out all nice and fluffy.
That's definitely a great benefit of the tool. Thankful that it exists for sure.
Oh, yeah. I'll take some random thoughts and it can make them into something coherent that I can share with somebody else.
That's one of the things I love about it. Being creative, right? It's still necessary. I'm a little bitter old man, but I also have this little cool creative guy in me. And it does help because like we've seen in some of the meetings we've had this week, when you ask me a question and I know that there's really like 3 portions of the answer, it's sometimes difficult for me to navigate why a bad website matters in relation to things we haven't talked about yet. And so I'm working on it. It's certainly a struggle.
I think you've done a good job navigating that. Do you have it on your phone, ChatGPT?
I have it on my phone. Do you
use the voice feature?
Mostly. No.
Yeah, you can have a full on conversation. I've turned ChatGPT into a therapist sometimes.
Really? I use it. Yeah. Honestly, I'll use ChatGPT on my phone to create LinkedIn posts, mostly on weekends, like when I'm on my couch. I'm like, give me something to say about ABM and something else, like a dynamic.
Yeah.
And then I'll just be like, okay, cool. Yeah, like whatever. But I know we're going to focus on me talking about my journey. There's people out there that want to hear it, I guess. I'm thrilled to share whatever. I'm an open book, man. This is not all rainbows. There's a lot of struggle in this book if you're trying to read it, folks.
What journey worthwhile doesn't have struggle?
Maybe it will become a true hero story. But yeah,
from the makers of Scary Movie.
That's a good Scary Movie voice.
I know, I practice it.
Oh my god!
In a world,
the story. One day. Yeah. So that's my opinion on marketing agencies, ChatGPT, and growth operations.
Just hit that little headphone icon there, and you can have a conversation with it. It's kind of cool. Anyways, I digress. See, there's tech. I'm going to go down
ChatGPT. What do I think about ABM? Oop. Oh, I think I hit the wrong button. Okay, next show I'll tell you how I use ChatGPT. That's cool though. I'm going to try it out this weekend, and I will see what I can do.
Let's see. Can it hear me? ChatGPT, tell me what you think about ABM.
Oh, that's cool.
Account-based marketing, ABM, is a strategy that focuses on targeting specific accounts or customers. It involves personalized marketing and sales efforts designed to engage each account, recognizing that each has unique needs and characteristics. This approach can lead to higher returns on investment because it tailors the marketing message to resonate more effectively with targeted accounts. What's your interest in
We need to stick
Are you thinking about implementing it in
meetings.
your work? Or just...
I know. It can get a little insane. It can get insane. And now it's got a feature where it remembers conversations from your different conversations. So it has a memory across each of them. So that's cool.
Oh, that's helpful. So chat, like, because I was using one channel before, like they had the Pro and it just had no memory. That was terrible. So I had a Word doc that I would copy and paste to start every prompt.
Yep, priming it.
Then I had a channel, but now I have so much stuff in a channel that it just freezes my computer. But now I can fill it in with some back information and then just hop between new conversations, and it'll retain the information. You just tell it
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I just saw the note like this week, so I haven't dug into it yet. You've got me.
That's massive.
You've got me working too hard. I got no time to play with tech anymore. No,
sorry, dude.
It's all good. It's all good. I enjoy what I do with a passion. I was actually saying
love having you here, man.
Yeah, I was saying it to the wife that I'm having a lot of fun. So
that's
she
cool.
said,
and for people listening, you're like 5 weeks in, I think. So not long. Not long,
but yeah, having fun. And we'll see. We'll see what the story goes with after 6 weeks.
That's right. That's right. I'm great for everybody until I'm not.
Yeah. Everybody's got a turning point.
Pretty solid.
So marketing agencies, eh?
How about them?
I think that we need to put them all in a blender and see what comes out.
Marketing agencies? That's diabolical. That's first of all, you would need a huge blender first.
Oh, I know. There's a new one cropping up every day.
Yeah. I mean, well, here's one of just a fun factoid. So Growth and my previous company, Sugar Free Media Group, were founded in Orlando, Florida. What does Orlando, Florida have? The #1 in size school in the nation with a creative department. And we're next to Disney and Universal. There's also a full-on virtual and physical campus for Full Sail University, which cranks out a ton of marketing students. So we've got hospitality schools, major universities, and like digital marketing business. 50-something thousand students at UCF. So every quarter, they're just cranking out thousands of people that think they're good at marketing. I was one of them. And so starting a company at, admittedly, 20 in Orlando, it's like a race to the bottom everywhere. Yes, a few of them get to stick out. You get a couple good B2B clients, but like one day I was like, I'm out of here. I can't deal with having to explain pricing and very cutthroat. Sorry, you don't need to stick them all in a blender, but a couple of them.
Just a couple, yeah. I can think of a couple right now. It's all good. You know, it's crazy too because like I taught at the University of Calgary. I taught marketing. I taught product development. I was not allowed to go off book and start talking like modern marketing. So it's like how we've had these conversations where, Richard, you know, it's a little old way of doing it, and there's a modern way to do it. That is exactly why, because you've got their curriculum is not talking about how to actually do it today. It's being taught by somebody who may have well been successful at one point or time, but it is old ways of doing it from the ad world.
I mean, we've got an intern right now that goes to Rollins College and says the same thing. Like, he's like, it's hard to go into class because I'll learn something, and then almost in the same day, you're like, you know what, not to do that thing. And he's like, they just told me to do this. I'm like, what is it, 2003? They're like, yeah, this book is actually from 2003. Sick, great way to spend $50,000 a year.
I'll take a page from Gary Vee there, and just, you know what, go use that money to travel the world and get some experience. That's smart. Yeah.
They call UCF you can't finish, and I did not. So shout out to UCF Rugby. Also not a sponsor, and definitely never will be.
You're just building that sponsor list today.
That is the only one where the check flows the other way.
Yeah. That's a whole rabbit hole of a conversation of education that I don't want to get down right now. That's a future episode, I think. All right. Well, what else you got to say for our people? I mean, we've got, how long we've been doing this? Almost 40 minutes? Yeah.
So what if someone was like, Chris, what do you want to leave people with this week? One, marketing agencies are only part of the conversation of growing your company. And if you're a sales or marketing director and you've been working with an organization and you're feeling like there's something that can be done differently, You're probably right. Call me. 2, growth operations is the flywheel and the ownership of the entire growth engine, as you called it. And in order for you to be a growth operator, you need to have a lot of experience in sales and marketing and customer service collectively. So that way you can provide insights in each of those areas. And lastly, I got nothing. Number 3 is, even if you're having a long week and you lose a little bit of sleep for things that you didn't do, maintain a positive attitude. There's probably lots of good lessons you can learn and apply those lessons to grow. That's honest. That's real.
Yeah. And number 4, there's always margaritas.
Margaritas, I am definitely like, that's the plan after this. I'm definitely doing that.
I'll tag one more on there, and I think like I put it in my daily learnings for you yesterday, and that was just because people are saying, or I'm not even saying the same. What they're saying isn't always what they're saying. So you got to be present.
Yeah, and that present, actively listening is so important. That's a really good call out. And sales is tough.
It's so much fun though. It is. I enjoy it so much.
I mean, there's so much that can be uncovered. Yeah, it's tough, but it is fun. Yeah. It is fun.
Yeah. There's the timer.
Okay, that's it. Margaritas are calling. It's time to party now. I appreciate you putting this together, man. Hopefully people can learn some stuff and we're able to share some of what we know. And